Alright, so this is a suggestion via a channel member. The name of the video is CCP Mad. Tariff Wars second round, China hits US with 74.9% tax. Alright, let's check it out. Let's jump into it. Let's see what it takes us, guys.
关税回到10%，我们就赢了嘛？
If tariffs go back to 10%, does that mean we've won? No, we're still very far from winning. The trade war is a full-scale battle on land, sea, and air. The tariff fight is just the open, visible part. Financial sanctions are hidden attacks. The real chokehold comes from technology battles, like chip blockades and technical barriers. Tariffs are only the most direct and surface-level confrontation.
Right.
We must stay alert during this 90-day pause. The semiconductor and new energy sanctions have not been lifted.
They're not going to be lifted.
Those financial influencers shouting about victory are either foolish or dishonest. They just want to profit by cutting others down. Let's keep it simple. Whoever controls the power is the real winner. When they say they'll raise tariffs, they raise them. When they say they'll fight, they fight. When they say stop, it stops. We can only respond passively. That's not winning. The real strength lies in who can start a tariff war and who can make the other side sit down for equal talks.
Yeah, listen, you guys have to be tariffed, period. All right, you pay your laborers way too little compared to the rest of the world. Okay, you do not keep people on the standard of, let's say, household incomes. You don't. You just don't do that. You pay the average employee that's manufacturing these things, some from roughly $140 to $180. No other country can basically maintain any type of free trade, specifically when the other party is undercutting the rest of the planet. Okay, so I mean, I hear what you're saying, bro. I hear you. But you have to have tariffs, and I would have went harder. Personally.
Tariffs dropped, but then shipping companies started to rip us off. Just after the Geneva Agreement was signed, shipping container prices jumped 8 times in one day. The tariff standoff between China and the U.S. was put on pause. This 90-day golden window triggered a frenzy across the country.
Of course, supply and demand.
Over 230,000 foreign trade companies scrambled for orders. Nobody knows what will happen after these 90 days. Everyone who can ship is rushing to do so. Some customers are stocking up more than usual. Many worry this might be the last chance to catch a policy bonus. On May 12th, China and the U.S. issued a joint statement. Both sides paused their reciprocal tariffs for 90 days. During this time, the U.S. lowered tariffs on Chinese imports from 145% to 30%. China lowered tariffs on American products from 125% to 10%. Also, the U.S. raised tariffs on small packages under $800 from 0 to 120%, then lowered them to 54%. This is good news for Chinese exporters, whose U.S. business had nearly stopped in the last month. Chinese manufacturers seized the buffer period to rush shipments to the U.S. Container bookings from China to the U.S. surged, and shipping fees rose accordingly.
Yeah, guys, that has to happen, right? I mean, there's only a finite amount of ships that can basically ship the quantity of items that are looking to basically be exported from China. Of course, if there are 30,000 people looking to ship something immediately, guess what's going to happen, bro? Right? The prices are going to go up. They have to go up. Supply and demand. It's the rule of supply and demand.
Container tracking company Vizion reported that by May 14th, bookings jumped 277% to 21,500 20-foot containers. But the tariff uncertainties faced by Chinese exporters and importers are far more than just the 90-day negotiation period with a 24% tariff. Many other uncertainties remain unresolved. On May 18th, China's Ministry of Commerce announced it will impose anti-dumping tariffs as high as 74.9% on POM C-polymer imports from the U.S. starting May 19th. European products face a 34.5% tariff. Japanese companies like Polyplastics and others face 35.5%. Asahi Kasei faces 24.5%. Imports from Taiwan face 32.6%, though Formosa Plastics and Polyplastics Taiwan get lower rates of 4% and 3.8%.
Yeah, so it definitely seems like they're trying to punish all the countries that decided to come to the table with us, guys.
Plastics and Polyplastics Taiwan get lower rates of 4% and 3.8%. According to the journal Modern Chemistry Industry, in 2024, China's main POM copolymer imports come from the U.S., Malaysia, Germany, and Taiwan. The U.S. accounts for 59,000 tons, or 15% of total imports. POM copolymer may sound unfamiliar, but it's essential to modern industry. It can partially replace metals like copper, zinc, tin, and lead. It's used in car parts, electronics, industrial machinery, daily goods, sports equipment, medical tools, pipes, and building materials. French newspaper Le Echo points out the puzzle. China keeps importing huge amounts of this plastic, even as imports rise. Since 2010, China's consumption of POM copolymer plastic has grown on average 5% a year and has doubled, now accounting for over half the global demand. Notably, Reuters reported that during the May 12th talks in Switzerland.
And guys, that's absolutely expected here because, again, if they're manufacturing everything, guess what they need? The main ingredient to manufacture nearly everything.
For over half the global demand. Notably, Reuters reported that during the May 12th talks in Switzerland, China promised to cancel some non-tariff retaliatory measures against the U.S., including suspending anti-dumping investigations against American chemical company DuPont and others. Reports say that the Chinese Communist Party's investigation into POM copolymer has been going on for a year, but instead of suspending the investigation as agreed, China suddenly announced a result, which is quite suspicious. On May 18th, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent told NBC that the U.S. government is focusing on deals with its 18 most important trading partners. Whether agreements happen depends on if the other side is sincere. He also warned that for countries lacking sincerity, the U.S. may send official letters stating tariff rates, which could go back to the highest levels set on April 2nd. Bessent's remarks about a lack of good faith seem to point at China. This tough stance has led foreign media to interpret that the U.S. is taking a more aggressive approach in trade talks. The UK's Financial Times said this shows how tense tariff negotiations have become, contrasting with recent U.S. claims that countries are eager to negotiate. Some analysts believe China's sudden move to impose a 47.9% anti-dumping tariff on American POM copolymer could be retaliation against the U.S.'s anti-subsidy and anti-dumping investigations.
It is.
Just before the talks in Switzerland, on May 7th, the U.S. Department of Commerce announced it would impose a massive 477.97% anti-dumping tariff on Chinese thermoformed molded fiber products.
It also probably should be added to solar products also coming from China.
Besides anti-dumping duties, the U.S. also announced it is launching a countervailing duty investigation on the same Chinese products. Vietnam also faces tariffs on these products, but their rates are much lower, ranging from 0.76% to 211.6%.
Yeah, guys, the thing about this region here specifically, looking at the map here, we also need to highly tariff Cambodia at the same time, because unfortunately what's going on here is what some of the people that are in China specifically manufacturing things, they've started to kind of origin launder things into other nations, right? So what they would do is they would complete the product at about 25 to 40% and have it completed, not complete, yeah, they would complete it, then they would send it off to basically have it completed in Vietnam or Cambodia. This is like specifically what's going on here. And keep this in mind, what's happening is that the people in China, the company, the business owners, is that they're building their businesses in these countries. So it's not like someone else is making the money, it's the same company. Same exact company, but the only difference is that what they're going to stamp made in Vietnam instead of made in China, when the thing was literally, I mean, come on, the whole thing was basically made by a Chinese businessman, guys, okay? And that's the reality of the situation in terms of like Vietnam and Cambodia. They both need to be taxed crazily. Okay.
Far less than China's. On May 20th, the U.S. International Trade Commission voted that large imports of cheap solar products from Malaysia, Thailand, Cambodia, and Vietnam cause material injury or threat to American solar panel makers.
It does.
This paves the way for anti-subsidy and anti-dumping duties on those products. Earlier, on April 21st, the U.S. Department of Commerce announced tariffs of up to 3,403.96% on solar cells and panels imported from Southeast Asia.
Good.
Though they came from Southeast Asia, these products were mainly produced in Chinese factories. These Southeast Asian countries are key suppliers to the U.S. solar industry. Meanwhile, Chinese solar manufacturers have a huge presence in Southeast Asia, almost monopolizing the global solar supply chain, from polysilicon materials to battery components, with about 90% market share. Reports say that the U.S. views Southeast Asia as a backdoor for Chinese products to enter.
It is, bro.
The U.S. market. Many factories and supply chains move there from China, absorbing huge Chinese investment. U.S. solar makers accuse Chinese companies of dumping cheap products through Southeast Asian factories to dodge U.S. trade rules.
Yes.
Last year, Chinese companies invested $173 billion abroad. The ongoing tariff war has accelerated this trend. Many Chinese manufacturers have planned to start new businesses in the U.S. to avoid rising tariffs. These include industries from petrochemical products to furniture. On May 19th,
that's fine. Make sure, but as long as you're hiring Americans. Like, seriously, like, as long as you're hiring Americans and paying Americans a fair wage, I don't mind you doing this exact thing. Because again, this is what Toyota did. This is what BMW did, right? They moved to the United States of America during this gigantic tariff kerfuffle, and then they started hiring Americans finally, right, to build some of the products and paying an adequate wage.
Mr. Fan, a Chinese furniture maker, opened a factory in the U.S.
Make it fair,
he
guys.
did this not only to avoid U.S. tariffs, but also because of competition back home.
Online people say American buyers are begging factories to ship again. Foreign trade is coming back to life. Ports are still jammed. Yesterday, I asked about shipping. Containers through the US now cost $7,500 each, and space is very hard to find.
Of course.
But the truth is, this 90-day tariff pause might actually be the overture to the real tariff war. Some factory friends say after customers finish current orders, they're not placing new ones. Some customers say even if they order, factories don't dare to accept because after July, shipments might stop. What about factories that don't have the ability to move to Southeast Asia? I think these 90 days give foreign buyers time to find suppliers outside China, but also give domestic factories a chance to rethink foreign trade. After years of traditional export, is moving factories out of China the only option? Clearly not. Look at me. I started as an OEM factory doing contract work, and now I make my own brand in the US. I focus on high-barrier offline channels. I've said before, we must build our own brands and channels to be independent and strong.
I don't mind that,
That's the future of foreign trade. If your main market is the US, come build your own direct-to-consumer sales channels there. Do retail with cross-border e-commerce and wholesale with offline distribution. Sell your own brand. Furniture factories can even share our warehouse space.
Even building factories directly in the U.S. will bring more pressure. The problem is, going overseas has always been a passive choice, and one that brings risks. The U.S. doesn't want Chinese companies to expand their influence there. Bloomberg reports that Trump tried to pressure Southeast Asian and European countries in trade talks, asking them to limit business and investment with China.
Okay, I definitely didn't think about that angle. Oh, yeah, he's kind of right. But I mean, bro, it's furniture. We're not, it's furniture. All right. If it's furniture and like the common typical things that are used on a daily basis, I don't really see the issue here. But if we're talking about things that have the ability to take other people's intellectual property, then I hear you. Absolutely. In that instance at least.
Including export restrictions. This 90-day buffer ends in July. Trade uncertainty will rise, and companies will face tougher challenges. Mr. Wang, a Chinese appliance company employee, told foreign media that the U.S. tariff war greatly impacts China's economy. It affects not only export companies, but also non-export firms, making domestic competition even fiercer. He said his company already started layoffs. Their products mainly target the domestic market, but that caused big export companies like Midea and Hisense to shift back to domestic sales. A lawyer working with Chinese foreign trade agencies said half of China's foreign trade companies have closed, and business volume has dropped sharply. In Yiwu, the world's small commodities capital, many factory owners are reporting no new U.S. orders. Many factories have closed or moved. Factory owner Mr. Yang said many factories only ship old U.S. orders and have no new orders. Closed factories are clearing inventory. Foreign buyers wait for cheap goods. He also started selling leftover stock, but profits are thin. Yang said, "No work means we've cut the staff to the limit. Tariffs dropped, so we're shipping old orders. We have enough work to last until the end of the month, but worry about next month." Yiwu's exports to the Middle East and Africa also dropped a lot this year. Consumption is weak. Everything is slowing. Small companies and workshops can't survive 3 months. Many will close. Yang added, many property owners in Yiwu don't run factories anymore because renting out is more profitable. Factory rentals dropped from 20 yuan to 16 yuan per square meter a year, but it's still high. He said, since there's no business now, many moved to Jiangxi or Henan to cut costs. Lots of factory spaces in Yiwu are empty. Rent there no longer fits low-end manufacturing. My friend rented in Shangrao, Jiangxi for 6 yuan per square meter, the price Yiwu had 20 years ago. Textile factories in Jiangsu are moving to Xinjiang and building new plants. Yiwu leftover goods dealer Mr. Tian said Yiwu is a foreign trade city selling goods nationwide and worldwide. He used to do supply chain work with spot goods. He stocked a lot and now faces excess inventory. Prices keep falling and inventory keeps piling up. Business is very tough this year. Because goods won't sell, he switched to selling leftovers by weight.
Okay, guys. Wow, by weight? I get that. Listen, we're gonna end the video here, guys. All right, we get the gist here, guys. Listen, it's not that I'm blind to the plight that these individuals are about to experience, but guys, no one cared when, manufacturing started leaving the United States of America and going over to East Asia. Why? Because they were underpaying everyone, guys. No one cared. This is what happens when you based, for the most part, your entire GDP, right, large scale at least, on funding products, let's say, for other countries. Okay, this is it. I mean, there comes a time where people in the countries are like, bro, we're not going to be able to afford this. Like, there's no way we can afford to continue buying things, enriching your country, and becoming impoverished and out of work because you guys are undercutting us on every single turn here, guys. I don't know, bro. I hear it, but it's hard to seriously feel anything while encountering these things, because knowing they reaped all of this from us, bro. Right? Nah, bro. I can't care that much, guys. I'm sorry. I understand the human aspect of it, and the people are never their government. Understand this here. I've traveled the world enough and experienced people in places where the United States of America has dictated to the average American citizen that these people are terrible. It's just not true. I've been to China multiple times. I've been to Russia multiple times. I've been in the Middle East multiple times. And guys, the people are not the government. The government normally is some overlord, let's say, unfortunately, right? But the people are never their government, generally, on average. That's basically what I've experienced. I've met great people in China, hung out with great people in China. I've met great people in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, Morocco, Algeria, Egypt, Yemen. I've met great people everywhere I've been, right? The people are never the ideology that's being created, let's say, by the government, right? But let's just speak about specifically the CCP, their communist government. Xi Jinping is basically only in power because he has the ability to kind of do this, right? Let's say he's trying to bring wealth and prosperity to his people. I understand that. Coming from a sovereign nation, I expect that of you to look out for the best interest of your people, right? But the problem is that, guys, this is not a system that can be maintained for too long, because again, the United States of America has fought a civil war, kind of for the same exact reason. Slightly different. I don't want to sit here and conflate things here, but because of the excessively cheap, almost paying people nothing labor that the South was basically doing, the North revolted because, bro, they can't compete. You're not making it fair. They cannot compete in terms of their business. So what happens? A civil war happened. Yes. Obviously, there were a couple of other reasons. We all know that there are more reasons involved here, but the main crux of the issue is that, guys, right? That's the issue. The issue was the fact that the South was basically, using free labor and reaping all the profits, while the North is like, guys, I can't even run a factory because why would they come here if they're going to go there, right? And that's what's going on right now. Right, and also keep in mind, this is also a moderate, precursor, let's say, to WW2, right? One of the other reasons outside of the main issue, let's say, right? But all right, guys, listen. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. You guys all have an absolutely amazing day. Enjoy your day thoroughly, guys. This is a wild one here, guys.